Could I get everybody's attention, please? Everybody that's out in the hall, if you want to come on in. All right. All of our county meetings, we start off with prayers, so we're going to ask Commissioner Thomas out and Gibbs, if he will, come and start us out in prayer. Mr. Gibbs.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we bow down tonight, we want to thank you for the many blessings of life, for the many things that you've given us, dear Heavenly Father, that sometimes we just take for granted, the things that you give us, but we appreciate that so much, dear Lord. Just be with us each day, dear Heavenly Father, as we're a leading light in front of those people that we come in contact with, that will be help and do the things that we need to do, dear Lord. Be with us here tonight, that things will be carried out, that will be pleasing unto thy sight, that everything that is done will be for thy honor and for thy glory, dear Lord. Be with our military, dear Heavenly Father, those men and women that are overseas, fighting for the rights and the privileges that we have to come out and do the things that we do, dear Heavenly Father. Just put your great loving arms around them, dear Lord, and just bring them all back home safely, and each and every one that might be in harm's way, dear Lord. But we just ask you in a great and mighty way that you'll be with us, that we'll do the things that you would have us to do, and be a bright and shining light in this community and every community around, dear Lord, that you be with us, watch over us, and help us and protect us from everything that comes along, as we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Gibbs. All right, just a matter of housekeeping. I know a lot of you are familiar with this school, but if anybody needs to use the restroom, go out these doors, turn right, and go down the hall on the left, and the restrooms are on the right. And I want to thank Ms. Barry Smith, the Director of Schools, for allowing us to do this public meeting here at the school, and Ms. Pope, the principal of the school, for allowing us to be here too. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and thank members of TDOT that have come out. And when all this came about January 12th, when the bridge was closed down, of course, I got a lot of phone calls, didn't really know all the answers that I needed to know. Contacted Commissioner Schroer. Matter of fact, he called me several times that day, and I contacted him, and then he put me in contact with Mr. Paul Diggs. And I asked them if they would be willing to come to Smith County to be able to answer the questions that people had here in this county, and they were. So I want to thank y'all for being willing to do that. And I told him, I said, there's a lot of concerned people, and I understand that, and so he's here to address all those questions. I would like to make mention, I know we've got several elected officials here. We've got school board members. If you would, school board members that are here, would you raise your hand, please? Anybody else? All right. County commissioners that are here, please raise your hand. All right. Glad to have all of you. All right. Also, we've got with us our state representative, Ms. Terry Lynn Weaver. Thank you for being here tonight. And Senator Beaver said she was going to try to be here. Now, whether she can get here or not, I don't know, but we're glad that you're here. And at some point in time, if you got comments, we'll allow you to do that. Not allow you. We'll be glad for you to do that. How about that? You got to be careful what you say, you know. All right. But the reason we're here tonight is because, of course, everybody knows it's bridge closed, and we want to try to answer the questions that we can. But I got some questions that from local people concerning things that we did have control of that TDOT would not, such as emergency services. I've got Mr. Jeff Crockett, which is our EMS director. I'd like him to come at this time and talk to you a little bit about what some changes have been made and done here to make sure that emergency response times continue to be good in this area. Mr. Crockett has done a good job for us. We appreciate him being willing to come. That way you don't have to listen to me talk the whole time. So, Mr. Crockett, please.
Thank you, Mayor. With the close of the bridge, shortly thereafter, the mayor contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to get out and actually run the detour route, first one thing or another, from the EMS station at Carthage, and also from our EMS station at Dordsville, and basically pick a spot and compare the times to see how much of an increase, if there was going to be any increase in the response time. What I did when I did that, I picked the actual last residence in Horseshoe Bend, which is 567, I believe it was, and that was my end point. And of course, like I said, I started from our main station in Carthage, made the detour route, then went from our station here in Dordsville to that same residence, all points in between, and I tried to keep an average of about 50 mile an hour, which you all may think that in an emergency situation, that's not fast enough, but to be honest with you, for safe traveling, I mean, we could probably do 65, 70, maybe on Highway 53 coming over here, or on the bigger roads, but going across Stonewall and going across Horseshoe Bend, for instance, that's probably, 50 mile an hour is probably even a little bit fast, so. And when I did that, we found that, and there's a lot more explaining I can do. Y'all are really probably not gonna understand how our county is divided up into zones and how we service each zone with all 3 EMS stations. I'm not gonna get into that tonight because I want to give these folks plenty of time to speak, let you all have plenty of time to speak, but I invite you, anybody that wants to, you're welcome to call me at my office at any time, and I'll be glad to talk to you and explain how we have the county divided, which stations service what part of the county, and so on. But anyway, when I did this with the mayor, we found that Horseshoe Bend, the entire road, is actually serviced by Station 1 out of Carthage, the way we have the county divided up. So if Station 1 was coming from Carthage, the bridge were open, they crossed the bridge, it would take them 15 minutes to get from Station 1 to that last residence in Horseshoe Bend. Okay, with the bridge being closed, of course, Horseshoe Bend is now being serviced by our Gordon unit coming from the east side. And running that same trip from Gordon Station to the same residence was 16 minutes. So in that scenario, there was a 1 minute difference in the response time. Now, we have been very, very lucky during this bridge closure that we, all the calls that have actually happened in Zone 2, which is the south side of the county, Gordonsville Station covers. I believe we had 4 calls since the closure of the bridge that were actually in the affected zone that Station 1, which is the truck out of Carthage, had to take care of. All other calls we were able to service with the Gordonsville unit. Of course, y'all understand the ambulance is not always at the station. They are on calls. We have to take a lot of transfers to Nashville, that kind of thing. But we've been really lucky, I think, thus far with that. But now, to give you the downside of it, if that same residence of Horseshoe Bend, if a Carthage ambulance has to come through that residence and make the trip from Carthage all the way around, has a total trip of 28 minutes. So that's actually, in that scenario, that's a 13-minute response time increase. But like I said, we've been very lucky. I hope to keep it that way. I've done everything that I can do to cut down on any increased response times, such as we had a policy that when our other 2 stations were busy and both units were tied up, I know some of y'all have probably seen an ambulance sitting at the end of Bonnell Lane, or you may have seen an ambulance sitting at the old Chevrolet garage at some point. We consider those halfway points between the 2 cities. So what we would do, we would pull that ambulance to Bonnell Lane so they could go north if they needed to, or come south if they were on the unit available. One thing I have done is I have stopped that. Your Gordonsville ambulance stays in this zone at all times unless they are on a call or have to be in Carthage for supplying, some short training we have to do sometimes, all that kind of thing. So other than that, and just making sure we have a great group of guys in our county fire departments who are certified first responders that go with us and help us on these medical calls. I also have several of my employees that live on this side that are willing to do that on their day off. And with their help, we've been able to, even though the ambulance might be a little longer than normal getting there, these first responders can still get to you in the same amount of time. So you've got somebody there, medically trained, taking care of you until we can get that ambulance to your house. And like I said, I just wanted to reassure you that I'm doing everything I can. It's been really good so far. We haven't had anything increased response time wise that has made any difference, and I'm going to try to keep it that way. Again, like I said, I thank you for your time. Thank the mayor for letting me talk to you. But if you all have any questions as far as how the county is divided, all that kind of thing, call me in my office at any time. I'll be glad to talk to you about it.
Speaking about the ALS crew,
What?
about the ALS crew, about the paramedic and everything going on ambulance in this area.
Okay. One other thing he wants me to cover, we have, and this again, we have basically have two types of ambulances. You have an ALS ambulance, which stands for Advanced Life Support, and you have a BLS ambulance, which stands for Basic Life Support. Well, the difference in the two is the Basic Life Support ambulance only has EMTs on board, okay? EMTs are trained, to a certain level. Now, the ALS ambulance means that there is at least one paramedic on board. Of course, the paramedic is higher trained than the EMT. There are a lot more skills that they can do as far as, and a lot more things they can do as far as treating you, depending on what the situation is. But I want to tell you there and assure you there, we have, I'm going to say the state, matter of fact, the state actually checks us on that, and I just went through the yearly state audit, and we have to have 95% of our emergency runs to be an A-rated ambulance service, which is what your ambulance service is. It's A-rated. That's the best rating that there can be. You have to have a paramedic on 95% of the emergency calls, and I think when he checked that, we were running about 98.5%. And where that small percentage comes in is in a situation where we get really busy. All three of our home duty units are on calls. We have another call come in. Then we have to rely on our part-time people to come in and take care of that call. And a lot of times, we may only be able to get 2 EMTs to come in and not be able to get a paramedic, so that's where that goes. But rest assured, when you call for Smith County Ambulance, the biggest part of the time, you are getting the most highly trained and the best gear you can get. We have a great bunch of employees here, well-trained employees. I can plan on keeping it that way and making it even better.
Thank you, sir. All right, thank you, Jeff. And we're going to call on Mr. Sonny Carter, our EMA director, to speak to you concerning the rescue squad. Also, he's going to cover item number 6. Y'all got the agenda concerning the fire department. And Mr. Maynard, if you want to chime in anything you can, so just keep an eye on it. If he gets anything wrong, make sure to correct him. But Sonny is our EMA director, and he does a good job for us. And Jeff does a great job for us. And I agree that our employees at the ambulance service, they do a fabulous job. So, Sonny, if you will, talk to him about the rescue squad.
Yes, sir, thank you. It only cost me $5 for him to say that about me, so I appreciate that very much. Thank y'all for being here tonight, and thank the mayor for asking me to come up and talk to you about what changes have been made since the closure of the bridge and on January the 12th. Just like Jeff said, it prolonged our response time traveling Cookville Highway should we have a call up there for a 1045 or 1046 vehicle accident that we would be responding to. And the response time was about the same, about a 15-minute increase when the bridge was closed, the detour we had to take. So at that time, I made the decision to move one of our vehicle education trucks, and that is the truck that carries the Jaws of Life. We have 2 at our base there in Carthage. So I chose to move one of those trucks to Station 2. I got with Director Crockett and asked him about the use of a bay over there that was vacant at the time. And he made arrangements for us to put that truck over there. And that would greatly increase the response time should there be a MVA on Cookville Highway west of the Caney Fork Bridge, and our response time. We have volunteers that live in the Gordonsville area, the Hickman area, the Brush Creek area, Sykes, Lancaster, New Middleton. So we felt very confident that that truck could take up the slack there in the response time. In the event that truck is called out to a call on Cookville Highway or somewhere else in that area, our second truck then is going to be dispatched to do what he was talking about, the standby that they used to do years ago in certain areas. Our truck, our second truck, which is a much bigger truck, has a whole lot more equipment, that truck will be dispatched to Hess-Wilco as a standby. Now, if that truck is traveling to Hess-Wilco as a standby, if for some reason that unit that's at Gordonsville does not go out, then that truck will automatically continue to respond to that call. That truck will also be en route to Hess-Wilco, I'd say, to standby. And if our truck, first truck, Unit 690, is on the scene of an MVA with entrapment, and all that, and as more equipment is needed, then that truck would automatically then respond to that call too. So we've got a backup for the system if we need to. And another thing would be good is the mutual aid agreement with Putnam County. They have a extrication unit in Baxter. They still have that one there. And we would contact Putnam County, and then they would send a truck to us if our two were tied up and we need another one on that dock. The only drawback with putting that truck over there is that that is an off-road extrication vehicle. And we rely on that truck to respond to calls where we had a tractor accident, four-wheeler accident, logging accident, some type of farming accident. We rely on that truck to carry our trailer that carries our two ATVs that we use to load equipment on and carry back to the scene, or carry medics back to the scene if need be. We've got to back up for that, but it just doesn't have the equipment on that truck that we have. So we would pull that truck, most likely from Gornsville, to go to that call where it was needed. Then we would send our truck that's sitting at the Carthage base over there. We would dispatch it to Gornsville to stand by until that truck is relieved from its call. So we feel like we've got the handle on this and cut down our response time. But like you say, when you've got someone pinned in a vehicle, medics are trying their best to do everything they can in their power to save that person. Time is of essence, and we need to get there. So a 15-minute prolonged response time is very dangerous for the patient and other people. Also, the mayor wanted me to do that part about the fire departments. District 2, your Fort Schuyler Fire Department covers this area up here. Central District is a backup for the Fort Schuyler Fire Department on all structure fires. They will continue to respond, but there again, the route they'll have to take now is going to prolong their call. So our backup for this is you have Lancaster Fire Department would be first out, you have Sykes, and then you have New Middleton Fire Department. And then you have Gornsville Fire Department would also respond, and we also could get a fire department out of Putnam County if needed. So we've got that covered too. And then for anyone that lives west of the Caney Fork Bridge, that Fort Schuyler had, now y'all did handle that one, Central, and you handled that one. They backed up Central on that one. Central will still respond to that area, but at this time, Rock City Rome, District 4, then is backing up Central until this bridge is reopened. So we've got it all covered. We think all this is going to work. We hope and pray we don't have to use any of this, but you all know as well as I do, things happen they're going to, but I feel like that we've got a handle on it and that we're going to be able to take care of this till this structure is reopened. Anybody got any questions?
Do it yet. I'll let them do that. Thank you, Sandy. Sandy does a good job for us too. One thing that I found out from Mr. Carver, by the way, Mr. Carver couldn't be here tonight. He's got a visitation at the funeral home, but he did say Granville also is another backup for this area too, so we'll make mention of that. All right, now we're pretty much what everybody's here for tonight, but I think all that information already been given to you, though it's good information for you to know that we have put things in place to protect emergency services and try to get those out there. Tonight, as I said, TDOT was willing to come and speak to the people here in this area and in Smith County. Mr. Paul Diggs, which I communicate with quite often, he's Chief Engineer for TDOT. Also, Mr. Wayne Seeger, he is Director of Structure Division. Mr. Wayne Seeger, we spoke a lot about the Cordell Hole Bridge repair was going on. And Mr. David Lehue, Region 3 Assistant Chief Engineer. B.J. Dowdy, she's Director of Community Relations, and Mr. Matt Barnes, which is the Legislative Director. And I truly want to thank y'all for being here. It's not an easy thing that y'all are coming tonight. Smith County people are great people, and I think they'll treat you well, but they want some answers. And as I told Paul, and I won't tell him, I won't tell him anything different than I tell y'all. With the questions coming in, I told him this is really not my baby to rock. And I think you really need to come and talk to people, and that's what y'all are here to do tonight. And I don't say that out of disrespect to you, but I think that the fact that y'all are here is a good thing, and you get the answers straight from the people that make the decision each and every day. So I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Paul Diggs, and after that, we'll go over to public comment.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and I do appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I know not just transportation, but bridges in particular are very important to people. I do want to say I appreciate Mr. West, your local newspaper here, we did an interview with him a while back to try to help get some information out. But let me kind of talk to you a little bit about what we do with bridges, our responsibility, how we got to where we are here today, and then what we're going to do to get the bridge back open. So, you know, this isn't the first time I've been in your community talking about bridges. We've got the Cordell Hole Bridge. We also, what was the Betty's Bend Bridge? We worked with the mayor on it for a few years ago. There's over in your neighboring county, DeKalb County, we had a couple of issues where we had weight-posted bridges that were affecting commerce in the community. So lots of issues with bridges that not just figuratively bridging communities, but really literally, you know, bridging and providing access. Y'all are blessed with a lot of water in the area where you guys live. And so certainly having good bridges is something that is very important. So let me kind of walk you through what happens to the Elmwood Bridge to us here. You know, this was, remember the very narrow truss bridge. And so we went through and our structures division designed the bridge, and the contractor came out here and built it. And I want to be real clear, the contractor did not make any errors on the bridge, so the contractor built what he was supposed to build. But while the bridge was under construction, our construction staff noticed some cracking in the deck on the bridge. Now, a lot of people say, concrete cracking. Well, truth be told, if you think about it, if you've ever been stuck in traffic on the interstate on a bridge and an 18-wheeler kind of rolls by, feel a little bit of movement. Bridges move in concrete cracks. So that's an issue on all bridges. You're going to see cracking concrete. But inside a bridge, you have the steel reinforcing bars. Steel is strong in tension, or when you pull on it, and concrete takes the compression when you push on it. So we balance that design, and when we designed this bridge, our construction guys kept seeing some cracking in the deck, so our structures guys from headquarters came out and looked at it. They went back and looked at things, and they didn't see any issues with the deck. And so one of the big issues with concrete is if it cures too fast, sometimes it cracks more. Sometimes there's admixtures in there that maybe don't react like we thought we were. So for several months through here, we kept thinking that there was some issue with the concrete deck curing. Well, as time marched on, Mr. Lehue, our regional construction manager, and his staff, before they tore the old bridge down, they were thinking, all right, we need to make sure everything's right. And so we looked again, we still didn't see any issues. Well, after the old bridge had got to where it was largely gone, and this was back in January, it kind of got to the point structures had some more people out, and I was actually in Washington at some crazy meeting I was at up there. And Mr. Seeger called me and said, you know, Paul, I said, we found an issue, and when we design a bridge, we don't design bridges to carry just the design load. There are factors of safety in bridges. And so not in the deck, but in the pier, in the columns on the bridge, the column, and this is what we call a hammerhead. You can imagine holding that like a hammer. So we call that a hammerhead. The beam set on top of this. What we found was we didn't account for the appropriate factor of safety for this component of the bridge. When we design bridges, we have we put reserve capacity in bridges. So the factor of safety on a bridge is generally about 2.5 to 3. So when you design a bridge, you want to make sure that you have an appropriate factor of safety. So when Wayne called me that Monday morning, I guess, he said, you know, we ran the numbers on this, and we don't think we got the factor of safety that we need out there. Now, that doesn't mean the bridge is about to fall down or anything like that, But as an engineer, as the responsible party for these structures, I said, well, Wayne, I need you to go sit down and talk with the commissioner about it. And I said, I think that we need to recommend the closure. And that's when I asked the commissioner to call the mayor, and we had to contact our members of the General Assembly and several others, and we knew we needed to get out to the public. And at that time, we had to do some reconnaissance on it. And so we went back and looked and said, well, what were the specific issues? So the specific issue with the pier is that we didn't account for that factor of safety. Oh, I'm sorry. But in the pier here, the concrete, and we put steel in the concrete, and the short of it is we believe we needed to have more reinforcing in that pier. It's not that it was about to fall. The most critical time for this pier is when we set the beams on it and we poured the concrete. So that would have been the most critical time, but we like to have that factor of safety because we don't know if somebody's going to overload the bridge, if there could be an unseen construction defect in there that is minor, but without those adequate factors of safety, we just don't feel that it was safe to keep it open. So we went back and crunched the numbers, and we just did not feel that it was appropriate as responsible engineers is to open the bridge back to traffic. We did look at the option of, well, what if we put one lane on it, and all these different types of scenarios, and frankly, just as the responsibility that I have as a licensed engineer in the state of Tennessee is that I don't believe it's appropriate to open the bridge to traffic. So during the same time frame, we got with our structural engineers and we tried to come up with, well, what would it take to fix it and what time would it take? So our plan is we're just going to, instead of having that overhang, we're just going to build a wall underneath that pier. The three river piers are a little bit different, and we're just going to kind of build a support up under it there. We've worked with David and Wayne and their staff have got together and worked with the contractor to kind of come up with what is the controlling timeline of this work. Right now we have a date of July 31st, correct Dave? July 31st, but we've also put a big incentive on the contract. We want the contractor to finish early, but the reality that we're faced with is the water level in the river is impacted by two reservoir releases. You got the Caney Fork, I guess Portal Hole up here, and the water goes up and down pretty regularly there. The contractor, particularly the pier in the middle of the river, is the one that is the most critical. That's the controlling time issue. So, because we got to build a haul road out into the river, build a cofferdam around it to get the concrete to come up out of the water. Once we get up out of the water, we're in pretty good shape, but that's the controlling timeline of the work. So it's July 31st is the completion date for the contractor, but we've told the contractor that, what's the daily figure, David?
$4,500.
$4,500 per day. For every day before July 31st, he has an incentive of $4,500 a day up to a cap of $400,000, correct? So he has an opportunity to if he could do it. We really believe that the water is going to be the controlling item of work. Our Wayne and David are going to be meeting with the Corps of Engineers. We're looking at the Corps to see if they can adjust how they release water from the dam and when they do it to allow us to get in there and get out faster. So that is the short of the issue, just to kind of give you an idea of what it'll end up looking like. You'll see the walls under the piers, and then out in the river, you'll have those three water piers will have that different looking column in them. So that is the short of it. Again, we want to make sure we have an appropriate factor of safety for the public riding on the bridge. This is something that happens all across the state. In this area, y'all are familiar with, sometimes we close bridges. Typically, they're not under construction at the same time. But every now and then something happens. We have had issues with bridges in the past under construction that we've had to stop the work and reconfigure things. But this is kind of a very unusual situation for us to see. But we believe we have a fix in the works that allows us to get the traffic back open, hopefully before July 31st. But we feel very confident with our July 31st date. Y'all have anything else to add? I think we're ready to answer any questions. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, and I give these agendas out where everybody can be on the same page. I try to give everybody one to come in the door. We're going to do this like we would at a mechanic commission meeting or a mechanic planning commission meeting where you have a public hearing. I don't want anybody to leave here tonight and say I didn't have an opportunity to ask my questions. So just to give you a few of the items that I have on here, of course I've got this wireless microphone. I will come to you and give you that to state your name for the record, and then you get to ask your question or state your comment. Each person that wants to ask a question, everybody that needs to ask a question will have that opportunity to ask one question before we go back around to you to ask a second question. The reason for that, I know how I am in meetings. I want to hog the meeting sometimes. So I don't want anybody just to have the whole time to ask just one person to ask the question. So I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to ask a question. We will put a 3-minute time limit on it. Approximately, I don't have a stopwatch on me, but I get pretty close to that. I just don't want it to end up in a 20-minute speech or anything like that. And then after that question is asked, I want to let whichever appropriate person it is from TDOT to address the question. And we would like to be finished by 9 o'clock or sooner. And I don't think everybody wants to be here all night. And so I'm not trying to be rude to everybody, but there has to be some type of control limit on about anything. So I did mention a few minutes ago, and I'm going to apologize to Steve Copeland. Sorry, Mr. Copeland, I didn't recognize our Caney road superintendent is here tonight. And I know he has some questions. And I did slightly mention Mr. Smith, our director of schools, Barry Smith. He is here too. And Ms. Lynn Williams is a trustee here in Smith County. And I knew when I started I'd probably forget somebody. So anyways, if I have, I do apologize to you. I didn't do it on purpose. All right. So whoever needs to ask a question, I'm just going to look at you. If I get to you first, that's one I'm going to go to. So Steve, I'm going to get to him because I know he wants to ask a question concerning the road. So Mr. Coleman, you'll state your name and ask your question.
Steve Coleman, Smith County Highway Department, I'm the road superintendent. I'm here to represent everyone on the east side of this county. Since the bridge is closed down, 4 county roads have took the major detour traffic. Where y'all have stone wall for the detour, that doesn't mean everybody's using stone wall. I'm not asking the state to resurface our roads, but Mr. Paul, I have been around you. Mr. Wayne, I've been around you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Terry Lynn, I know you. Is there any way, Mr. Paul, you could send a man to me to ride these roads and just take pictures, videos of what they look like today? I've already started a file on materials and stuff I'm already doing because of extra traffic. Would that be possible?
Yeah, I think the short answer to that question is that we do have the capability to reimburse for damage, the damage to the road network. So that's frankly some standard language in our contract. We can actually get our contractor to do that through the contract. That's probably the easiest way for us to do it. But I'm sure David would be glad to get some of his staff out here to get with you, just hook up. That is something that we do pretty routine when we have construction projects that detour traffic on local roads.
I'm not sure if it was David, but I have been on the north side of the county before.
So the answer to that is yes, there is some help there for the highway department.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Question on this is, my name's Frank Woodard, a resident of the district and also a commissioner in this district, have been for years. And I'm proud to live in this district. We've been waiting on a new bridge there for years. I always thought that, like I killed on all of us. Well, I want to ask you, why didn't y'all listen to the contractor when he called you time after time got problems had, and why didn't you fix it? If you'd done it like he asked, we should have been able to cross it today. Still couldn't solve it.
Well, I mean, what I'll say, and frankly, it wasn't just our contractor, our field construction staff and the contractor. And look, I know those guys at Concrete Structures. The kind of one of their big head honchos used to work for me. They did bring these issues to our attention, and like I said, we were out looking at them. And the truth is, when we were looking at the issues, where we were seeing the problems, where it was manifesting itself, was not where the design issues were. The design issues are in the pier, and we were seeing cracking in the deck. So we were scouring all over the deck. We were looking back over our issues with the deck. It's not that we weren't listening to anybody. We were. Our structures guys came out here. Our field construction guys came out here. I know I was out here one time myself on the bridge looking at it. And it's not that we weren't listening, it's that we did not understand what the problem was at the time. And that's how we found out, is when we finally started looking into things and we started seeing a few hairlines in the piers, is when which occurred much later, is when we came back, and that's when we realized that we hadn't accounted for that factor of safety.
Has the bridge dropped 4 inches?
You answer this one. It hasn't dropped for.
I was curious, I was told I've heard people talk, that the bridge itself has dropped 4 inches.
I'm not aware of the bridge dropping 4 inches.
Well, my question, I guess, would be, would the gussets that you're proposing actually work, or is it a footer issue?
No, the issue is in this part of the bridge right here. This is where the issue is. The bridge is not moving. We're not seeing cracks open up. We're seeing hairline cracks in the bridge. So the bridge now, look, the approach slab on the pavement before you get on the bridge, it might have some dips in it, but y'all see that on every bridge, and that's because bridges are founded on rock and roads are founded on field. And fields expand and contract with the weather and temperature, and bridges are on stilts on down to rock. So the bridge isn't moving, but that approach slab, you might see some settlement at the approach slab, and that is the scourge of owning 2,000 bridges. I imagine the county sees that as well.
The bridge is founded on rock. We go down to solid rock, so it's not sinking.
Barry Smith, Director of Schools, Smith County. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Nesbitt. I appreciate TDOT being here answering some very difficult questions. I have a couple of questions. Most of us in the community know how tight that our budget and how we try to run our budget. And my question is, we ran the numbers at the end of the week last week. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's costing us approximately $4,000 a month more. Overtime pay, staff, diesel, having to run an extra route. Is there any way or any fund or any department that can help us on some of those costs?
I'll go back and dig into it. To my knowledge, I don't have any mechanism under state law to cover some of those. I know I can damage to local roads due to the detours. I do have a mechanism for doing that, but I don't have a mechanism under the law that allows me to pay some of those costs. I'm going to go back and I do want to talk to some of the other agencies in state government to see if there might be some emergency type funds. But offhand, I'm not aware of anything through the Department of Transportation. If one of the things to think about is it's not unusual in the state. I know there's 20 closed bridges in the state right now. So bridges get closed from time to time, and the law doesn't give me a tool under the DOT rules to recover any of those costs. But that is something that I've talked a little bit with the commissioner about, to see if there any other options that any other state funds that could help support that stuff. But offhand, I don't know. Like I said, it's not unusual for bridges to be closed in the state for various reasons. But so offhand, the law doesn't give me a tool directly at DOT to cover those costs.
Steve Byers from Elmwood. I was just wondering how a bridge could get past the state inspection without any expansion joints cut in it. Could be a reason why it's cracking, and that's one of the, and what about the rebar? One string of rebar, I know you got pre-stress underneath with rebar in it, but when you poured the concrete, there was only one row of rebar instead of two on the chair.
Right. I'll take that. Okay, the first question regarding the expansion joints. We try to eliminate expansion joints in our bridges. We find that over time with expansion joints, the water pours down through the joint and will corrode and basically freeze up the bearings underneath. And so then the bridge won't move, and so then it starts breaking apart. And so over time, we've learned this. And in fact, we have a bridge over 1,000 feet long, close to 1,100 feet long, in the western, kind of central western part of the state that doesn't have a joint. So that's actually the longest one in the country. But that is, it's, as Paul mentioned, the bridge moves, right? So, and even though that it's founded on rock, at the abutments there are pilings or I-beams like looking things that are driven to rock, and those will be able to move. So the movement has taken place. It's just that there's no formal expansion joint through the deck. So that's it. And the rebar issue. We designed the decks for 2 mats of steel, 2 mats of reinforcement. And we have the option to substitute one of those mats with precast, pre-stressed deck panels, as you alluded to there, and that is on that bridge. So within those panels, that's the second mat of reinforcement. So there's not only pre-stressing strands, but there are also steel rebar reinforcement in each of those panels. So, and that's why you only see the 1 mat of steel in the cast portion. I think it's about a 4 or 5 inch thick cast portion that goes on top of that precast panel. Mm-hmm.
A.J. Schoenberger. It would seem to me that the harder question in this whole pier, the water piers, would be the part that's actually in the water, because the Caney Fork River is actually a rather fast-flowing river, and when water is released, it's really a lot of water that goes past the pier. So I'd like your thoughts on how secure the piers will be after this work is done, and have you really taken that into consideration in redesigning the fix?
Feel that? Sure. I appreciate the question. The river piers are actually founded on rock. And so when they originally constructed, this would be Pier 5 here, which is in the middle of the river, they built a culvert dam around and cleaned out down to and into rock. So the piers actually, well, they give them the option to either countersink the footing into rock, or they drill and anchor with steel reinforcement into rock. And then they come out above the pier with a column. And so the Caney Fork does carry a lot of debris, and as you mentioned, it's a pretty swift moving stream when it generated. So that pier won't go anywhere. But as part of the remediation measures, we'll be encasing that pier column with a little bit larger area of concrete there. So to help support this additional cap, excuse me, this help support that cap.
My name is William H. McCarter, and I live up on Bee Ridge. My question is, why wasn't the old bridge left until after the new bridge was completed and inspected? That should have been done first.
Well, that question was brought up by when we were looking at the bridge. Before we took the old bridge down, before we took the traffic off of it, our field construction staff came back to our structures division and said, all right, we've got this cracking issue that we're seeing in the deck. Are y'all sure that it's okay for us to go take the old bridge down? And look, at the time, the information we had, we didn't have any indication that we had an issue with the bridge. And so the bridge got open, the new bridge got open to traffic, and we proceeded with demolishing the old bridge. You know, certainly today, with what we know today, we would have liked to have had the old bridge to put traffic back on, but the reality is, at the time the decision was made to start demolition on the old bridge, we did not know that there was an issue with the pier caps. We thought we were seeing some cracking in the bridge deck that might have had something to do with how the concrete was cured. Our field construction staff asked the question back to our structures division and said, hey, we're about to get beyond the point of no return, are y'all sure? And we made a decision to move on. At the time, based on the information we had, we made that decision based on the best available information. In retrospect, had that other bridge still been there and we could swap traffic back on it, we wouldn't need to be having perhaps this meeting tonight, but we would still have some explaining to do. But that was the issue. At the time the decision was made to take the old bridge down, we only knew what we knew, and it was not until later that we found out the issue with the pier caps.
My name is Tom Arnold. I have no issues much with the bridge. That's your department. Traffic control is the thing that I wondered why you couldn't put a traffic light on each end of the bridge, run traffic down the middle of it, to where, maybe not for the whole project, but for where 2 or 3 months, everybody would have had to go through the discomfort of traveling the way they had to travel. And of course, the bridge deck, that's something, you know, I don't know whether, that bridge is 50 foot wide, so you probably port 3 different runs and still keep traffic running somewhere. So, you know, I just, especially just to come up, one day the bridge is open, the next day it's closed. It's kind of like the zinc mine. The zinc mine was open on Sunday night, Monday morning, shut it down. Nobody knows, you know, all of a sudden that's what happened. But I just thought through the time that it could have been handled, as a lot of them handled with traffic control, where you got a one way to the middle of it, or how you want to handle it. I'll leave that up to you.
Well, so when we found out the issue, when Wayne called me up on the phone that day, we felt we needed to close it that day because we didn't have all the answers. So one of the things that we did, we looked at the design and we looked at exactly what you're talking about. Could we put 2 lanes of traffic in the bridge? Could we just weight post it? We thought about, well, what if we put a 10-ton, 15-ton weight limit on it? What if we just put 1 lane and a traffic signal? And it goes back to this issue that I'm talking about from I've got to have an adequate factor of safety on a bridge. And we just do not feel it's our responsibility in state government to make this call. And we don't feel that it's appropriate to put it back to 1 lane. But it is something that we looked at, we did crunch the numbers, we calculated the numbers on it, and we just didn't feel it was appropriate to do it.
What is the number you go by? Traffic count on the road?
No, I mean, this has to do with when you calculate, it's about dead load and live load, and I'm gonna let Wayne talk to it in regular terms. Okay, but basically it's how much does the bridge weigh by itself, and then how much, if you put vehicles on it, would the impact of vehicles crossing it? So those are the 2 loadings that we're looking at on the bridge, and we don't believe we have the adequate factor of safety to put traffic back on that bridge. And that, I mean, it just, we're the responsible parties here, and we just don't think it's appropriate.
You just don't think the bridge is designed adequate to handle that part?
It doesn't have the adequate factor of safety, and our role as the engineers on this bridge is just not something that we think is appropriate to put traffic back on.
I know that right now there's some on I-40 in East Tennessee.
Well, there's lots of posted bridges all across the state.
I'm talking about where they got traffic lights on.
Oh, look, we use that in a lot of places. I mean, it's something that we do routinely, but we calculate the numbers on every single one of those projects that we do that on. And it's just like over in DeKalb County here, a couple of years ago, we had to post a few bridges and put weight limits on it that severely impacted 18-wheelers crossing some of those bridges. And so we actually, on the Hurricane Bridge, y'all familiar with that bridge, we actually worked with the sheriff and had some police escorts for big rigs on that one. We've looked at those options on this bridge as well, and we just don't think it's appropriate to do that.
Is there any way to control the weight limit prior to getting to that part, keeping them off?
Well, we just don't believe it's appropriate to put traffic on the bridge. We even thought about coming up and putting temporary supports. So we did an analysis of putting temporary supports in to temporary support it. And because of the issues in the river, it would have taken just as long to put temporary supports as we believe it would take to do a permanent fix.
Okay. Let's go on to the next question. Mr. Tom, I'll come back to you if you got another minute.
Name's Joe Eulis from Chestnut Mountain. You stated that there's no danger of that bridge falling as it is.
That's correct.
Okay, then why can't there be some kind of traffic on that bridge? Like Mr. Arnold's talking about?
Because...
No, I know what you said there, but it don't make no sense. First you said there's no danger of that bridge falling. So why can't there be some traffic on it?
Because as it is...
You guys are working underneath it anyway.
Look, y'all, and I apologize that y'all are having to live with this. I know it's the responsibility that we have as engineers is that I have to know 100% what's going on these bridges. We inspect every single bridge, not just state highway bridges, but county-owned bridges. We inspect every single bridge in the state. And Mr. Seeger and his staff has the unenviable task sometime of calling the mayor up and say, you've got to close a bridge. I don't know if you've ever got one of those calls, but we have to know with certainty what a bridge is capable of carrying with an adequate factor of safety on it. And in this particular case, we don't feel comfortable with you guys driving over this bridge. And I apologize for that, but that's my job as a licensed engineer, is to make sure that we know the condition of bridges when people drive over. Right, yeah, we
who's held responsible for this? Well, this is costing people money. I mean, does anybody's head roll over this, or is it just, oops, we made a mistake?
Let's go back to that question, because that's two, and I don't want to be unfair, okay?
David Groves, County Commissioner, West District. You're talking about putting the 3 piers in the middle of this river, right? Can I get a head nod, yes or no?
Well, I mean, it's
yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, you're saying that you're going to drill down to bedrock, right? To set the piers?
They're already in place, yes,
right.
sir.
You know what's under that bedrock? A zinc mine. And that zinc mine floods, and they have to pump out constantly in order for the zinc miner to work down there when it's open. So 3 piers sitting on top of the zinc mine, is that a good engineering study or what? I'm no engineer.
Right.
Sounds like to me we got an experimental bridge that failed.
Exactly. Whenever we design and construct a bridge, we have our geologists go out and they drill down to bedrock and into bedrock, well below bedrock, or well down into bedrock, I should say, to determine, one, the quality of the rock, and then are there any voids and that kind of thing down so far below where we anticipate that load being distributed. This bridge is no different. That they went out, in fact, they drilled the very locations of each of these piers. At one point in time in the department's history, they would drill in the vicinity, and then we would project how those loads were. But now, and I'd say now, this has been going on for better than 10 years, I guess, that each and every pier location and abutment location is drilled prior to the bridge prior to it ever going to contract in the design phase. So each of these substructure piers and abutments, we call them substructures, have been drilled by our geotech group. And so we know what's down below those piers. And there's sufficient rock, there's sufficient stable material down below those piers to accommodate the loading from this bridge.
My name is Jack Franklin, and I'm kind of a newcomer here, folks. I've only been here 28 years, and that kind of makes you new. I guess a lot of people are really curious, Paul, as to why they could build a bridge over that river 75, 80 years ago when you can't build one over it today. I know we have a lot of trouble with bridges, but this is a brand spanking new bridge, brand new. Brand new. Safety. I spent 45 years working for the government. Safety is everything. It's brought up every moment, every day, every pre-job brief. But you tell me, during the entire design phase of this bridge, the factor of safety was overlooked during the entire design phase. I bet that took years to get that done.
but over and over and over again, it was overlooked and overlooked and overlooked, and documents were signed, plans were given, contracts were let, and still safety was overlooked. I find that to be rather amazing, don't you?
Look, the short answer is yes. You're exactly right. We did, when we did the design calculations for that pier, we didn't adequately account for the factor of safety on that. You're exactly right. And
You're shouldering responsibility.
yes, sir.
You're saying it's my fault.
You know,
Taxpayer dollars are gone, and you people are in this situation.
and my name's on those plans. And you know, and I'm standing up here and telling you, look, this isn't an easy issue. And why did I hold?
Why do you still have a job?
If the governor wants to fire me, he can. And I still think I bring value to the department. And I think that my staff does as well. I will tell you that we do have to look at discipline. But we are human beings, we're fallible. And not only department staff from time to time, but consultants, and people sometimes make mistakes. And sometimes I fire people. I probably fired 200 people last year. And so, well, you know. And, but look, y'all, look, I understand this is frustrating. And, you know, and that, you know, it's frustrating for me as well. And I don't like it when these things happen. And but my job is to come in and deal with it and resolve the issue. And that's what we're doing today. So we've got a plan to resolve the issue. And if somebody wants to do something more about that, they can. And we all have a boss.
If I had spent my 40 years in America's nuclear industry providing the taxpayers the level of service that you did, I would have been on the street before I was 30 years old. This is shameful.
What I'd like to know is, what was the factors that contributed to the decision of building a new bridge? Like David said, we are building over a zinc mine, and we had what I consider a good bridge.
Well, I think I can answer that. I mean, first of all, building a bridge over a mine is something that certainly can be done. There's roads over the mine. There's probably a lot of stuff. I've actually built roads over caves before. So the engineering science behind building something over a mine is not insurmountable. And frankly, we don't believe that is an issue. As far as the existing bridge was too narrow for the traffic that was on it, and it was a very old structure that had issues with it, and frankly, its useful life was gone. It was time to replace that bridge. And we looked at the possibility of rehabbing the bridge. Steel trusses, frankly, are very, very difficult to maintain. The type of steel that bridge was made out of deteriorates and corrodes a whole lot faster than modern bridges do. And we felt that it was appropriate to put, you can't widen the truss anyway. A lot of the complaints we got out of the county up here was the bridge was too narrow for the traffic. So we had to come up with a wider bridge, and you can imagine how a truss bridge is. I can't widen a truss bridge without cutting it in half. So there just isn't a way to widen a truss like that. So that's why the decision was made to go with a new bridge here. And it was in pretty rough condition. I mean, I believe it was posted at 10 or 20 tons, I believe.
Yeah, we had to go in and do an interim repair to basically Band-Aid bridge. I don't know if you remember that. about, I don't remember the exact date, maybe 2011 or so. But we did some interim repairs just to hold it over to where we could keep it open until the new bridge was constructed and let.
And I will say this, Paul is correct, I want to come to Mr. Stan. There were a lot of requests to replace that bridge because of the narrowness of it, and of course I've been across it myself, so there was a lot of requests from the community, Mr. Stan.
My name's Stan Webster, I live in Chestnut Mound. You stated you knew there was a problem with the bridge, correct? While it was being built.
I said we saw cracking. One of the jobs of our construction staff.
Okay, you saw cracks, okay. You actual cracks, okay. Why did you let those trucks, you just opened one side of the bridge. Now, I'm not an engineer, but you opened one side of the bridge with all those large lime and stone trucks all on the outside of your pier. On the hammerhead or whatever you call it. Why did you do that, number one? Number two, will you please reconsider opening just for one lane of traffic right down the center where it's right over the center post, and if it won't hold up one lane of traffic at 15 miles an hour, you need to blow it up and start over.
So, two questions. The first question about the truck. At the time, we did not know what the issue was with those piers. So, we opened it to traffic.
You didn't discover something a year ago?
We saw cracking in the deck about a year ago. But we didn't determine what the ultimate cause of that was until January. We had our structures guys out looking at the bridge. We saw cracks in the deck. Cracking in the deck is fairly common. Our construction staff kept talking to our structure staff and said, you know, these cracks look a little different. So that's the issue of why we did that. We did not know what the issue was until January. Your second question about opening the traffic, I'm trying to...
I know the center post that you're showing right there.
Yeah.
I know that center post. Did not support one lane of cars.
It might well, but what I'm telling you is my role as a official, as the responsible parties, one of the responsible parties for this bridge, is we don't think that it's appropriate to put traffic on the bridge. And I apologize to you guys, but that's my responsibility, is to make that decision.
When you're apologizing, are you taking into effect the terrible economic problems? It isn't driving to Walmart here. It's small towns who depend on the traffic coming up there. And because you are deciding that it will not hold a passenger car at the rate of travel of the cars around here, you are shutting down for 6 months or so the whole economic stability of the communities in this area. I can put 2 8x8s across a creek and put some 2x6s on it and drive it fully loaded with cement for a truck crossing back and forth for 10 years till the wood rots. So why have you designed a bridge so poorly that you cannot allow passenger cars to go over it in one lane between now and July when you pour the rest of your piers?
The reality is about this.
If that bridge will not hold a passenger car, you should all be strung up on your heels.
You know, I apologize, ma'am. I've addressed the issue as...
I want you to give money back to these small communities that they lose and the stores that may have to close because of your ineptitude and incompetence.
My name is Danny Woodard. My wife works for a software company, and we travel out of state a lot. And I want to say Tennessee has some of the best roads I've ever traveled in, but they cannot design a bridge.
I'll go back to what my name's Bill Atkinson. I live out in Enigma Road. I go along West End with Webster said. if all you people could sign off on a bridge that you felt very safe with and would take a full load of traffic, and now you say you can't feel safe for it to take one vehicle across there at a time, that doesn't make sense to me.
My name's Tony Addy. Can you tell me, we started on about building this bridge years ago. Then they kept putting it off, and putting it off, and putting it back. And now, you build a load of crap. You know, we can't use it. Can't you do anything better?
Well, I mean, the short answer about the when is we are constrained in funding. There's, you know, I only have the money that's made available to me to spend. You know, the cost of construction prices, as many of y'all know, roughly doubled between 2003 and 2008.
But the reason why you're strictly underfunded is because you're wasting $5.7 million down here on bridges. That's where your money's going. And there's one other thing. Is there also the truth that there's 4 other bridges built in the state of Tennessee, just like this?
No.
My name's Teresa Pipes, and I'm a business owner on this side of the bridge, and I'm not the only business owner. And it has hurt business. And we all have to have extra gas money to go around this detour that y'all have cost for us. And another question, why did you design that bridge to where it's down in the hole? Why didn't you bring it up a little leveler than you did? You have to go down that hill, and then it's just like it's in there, like this. It's what?
It's certainly shorter or closer to the ground than the old truss bridge was. And I believe the old truss bridge was built prior to the dams being founded. And so they had to account for the unflood events back in the day. And now, since you have the flood control, essentially, of the rivers, that elevation wasn't important to, or that high elevation wasn't as critical to meet. And so we dropped the elevation down.
You get on down that road and look back at that bridge, you can't kind of see a swing. Yeah, it's bumping. Yeah, it's bumping. It's still bumping. You know, go down there. It's
Let's at least get one question at a time before we go to another, and I'm hearing a lot of noise in here. I can't hear worth a flip, so it's hard for me to hear. So if everybody just wait just a minute, let them answer the question, we'll go to the next one. If you'll finish answering Teresa's, I'm going to go to Mr. Tom Arnold Jr. He'll just hand up next, and Mr. John will come to you next, okay?
Well, to your question about the profile, the reflective side, that's roadway design folks set that profile or the grade, and it is intended to drain water as well as meet a particular design speed. So, I mean, we can get technical stuff.
But it has our business on this side of the bridge.
My name is Joyce Hill, and I'd like to know, has anybody paid for this mistake? Has anybody lost their job? And if so, don't you think that somebody should?
You know, discipline is an issue with all of our, you know, how we look at things. You know, when we look at the issue, I think that their discipline is appropriate for this issue. But on the other hand, I want to make sure everybody understands that sometimes I have employees that save $1 million on the bridge, sometimes $10 million and stuff like that. So I have to look at things as a whole, that I have carelessness, recklessness, was it human error? I mean, all these things have to be taken into account. So those are the things that have to be considered, and I will tell you that there is a reckoning that's going to have to be done to talk about that. And so, but that is part of what we do, but I don't think that, you know, I have to take things as a whole, and I'll be looking, Mr. Seeger is the director of the structure division, that's something that he'll be looking at, and it'll get reviewed at the highest level as well.
What cost are we talking about to do these repairs? That number's not come up yet.
Probably $2.5 million.
Okay, so half of what, approximately half of what the total of the project. Okay.
Okay, from my understanding, the structural division design bridge.
Correct.
The construction department indicated that there were issues and cracks that were not necessarily consistent with other bridge works. The structural guys came back out and said there was nothing wrong, that was normal when you did a bridge, that even though that those cracks were not consistent with other bridges. The structural department still indicated that there was no issue. It looks like the structural department never tried to get to the bottom of why those cracks, that they just assumed or thought that it was the deck. Now the structural department, y'all are going to have to go back and redo the bridges. You've shown the designs and things like that. You've indicated you've gotten a contractor. You're going to give them an incentive and things like that. And you feel like this is going to take care of it. But again, what guarantee are we going to have that the structural department, if somebody else comes up and says there's some issues and problems that we're seeing that's not right, what guarantee are we going to have the structural department is going to look at that and that this bridge is going to be guaranteed durable, structurally sound, structurally safe for a longer period of time? Because I understand there's nothing you can do about it now. It's done. That's it. But what I want a guarantee of is in 5 years, are we going to come back and have another problem because there's another structural issue with this bridge? Because I don't want to make this trip down Stonewall in 5 years, or 3 years, or 10 years. So what I want to know is, understand there's issues, y'all made mistakes, you indicate you have. I want to guarantee that those mistakes are going to be corrected the way they should be, that you're going to take, if somebody says there's an issue, you're going to look and find out where the problem is to begin with, and like I said, in 15 years, this bridge is not going to be closed down because there's an issue structurally with it again.
It's a very good question. So, I mean, I will guarantee you, every single element on this bridge has been checked by multiple people. We know where the issue was, so we know that the one issue on that pier cap is the issue. So we know that. A bridge is designed for about a 50-year service life, and then we will rehab it sometime. And so we'll probably get 100 years out of this bridge, would be ballpark estimate, and maybe even longer. But this bridge will be out here long after I am. But the point of your question is about other issues. Every single design calculation on this bridge has been gone back over. We have we have multiple checks to make sure that these things, one of the things that we've looked at is we've actually got things in place today that will look out for these types of issues that weren't in place when this bridge was originally, pencil put to paper on it. So, but to answer your question, the bridge has been, all of the design calculations have been gone over by a totally independent review.
Can you let us speak to the inspection program as well? Certainly, I appreciate your question. And each bridge, as Paul mentioned earlier, is inspected every 24 months maximum. So they'll do a hands-on inspection throughout the whole bridge, just as they do on the other 19,766 bridges in the state. And so, we'll be keeping a close eye on not only this bridge, but the others as well. So rest assured that we want this to be here for 100 years.
I just want it to be until
Well, certainly so.
I'm Judy Downs. I'm a resident in Ellenwood, and we're fairly new in this area. I know that I've heard Smith County citizens talking about this bridge crumbling for quite some time. And I'm wondering, I don't think the residents would have been silent about it until January, when y'all came and closed the bridge. So that's a safety factor we were unknowingly involved in. Also, I'm wondering why, and I understand your budgets, but why can we not, or you not, have a 48-hour, 7-day-a-week crew out there repairing this damage until the bridge is fixed? I would think that that would shorten the time it would take to get this bridge into repair, that it would possibly last 100 years. And also, I'm wondering what this does to our property values.
So I'll speak with respect to the schedule of work. So we are scheduled to have a 6-day work week. With the river piers, it's unsafe to work at night out there. We've got fluctuating water that goes up and down 7-8 foot. So it's unsafe for them to get out there. That's why this Friday we're meeting with the Corps of Engineers, and we're trying to work it out where they can do their work with respect to the water levels at night, so that we can get out there and utilize the whole day, 6, possibly 7 days a week, to get this thing done. The river piers are the controlling item of work. So whether we're out there 24/7 on the land piers makes no difference. It's the river piers that control this work. So they're planning on working 12, 14-hour days. Like I say, the water out there is volatile. It's heavy velocity. So the key is to work with the Corps. We've already talked.
The incentive.
Yeah, more crews out there to get it done quicker. Because if we just did it through normal operation, it would take till October or November of this year to build this. So we're trying to cut off about, what is it?
We've got 2 separate contractors. We got one contractor working on the land piers and a separate contractor working on the river piers. So there's going to be 2 different contractors, plus that $400,000 incentive is we've calculated an accelerated schedule based on the workflow for each component of the construction. And then we've offered to the contractor, look, if you can find ways to do even better than that, there is a financial incentive to you. So we've put everything we can to try to get this bridge open sooner just as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, Concrete Structures is the prime contractor. They're very familiar with what's out there because they built the original bridge. We're bringing in another contractor, Simpson Bridge. They're experts in bridges over water. So they've got the manpower and the equipment to take care of those 3 river piers.
What's going on currently?
What about the activities?
Well, right now, so we built a haul road from the Cookville side down to the 2 piers on that side of the river. And there'll be work beginning over there soon once we talk with the Corps of Engineers and try to get the water levels down so that we can get out there and do this pier right here. That's Pier 6. There's 7 piers on this bridge, 3 of them in the water. Concrete Structures will be working on the Carthage side. They're already out there, Piers 1, 2, 3. And they're active. We've ordered materials. We're working now. We've got an agreement with them. We've been meeting every week to go over the progress. We will continue to do so. We have a critical path schedule that keeps up with things. So it's my job to get it done by July 31st, and I'm dedicated to do that. But we've got to get some players in there with the Corps of Engineers. We've talked with them. They want to work with us. We just need to tell them what we need, and we don't need it to rain.
Did I understand you to say, Church, did I understand you to say this is a unique design? Are there other bridges like this?
Every single bridge in the state is unique. Each one of them is designed by hand. You know, of course, there's computers and all that kind of stuff, but we don't use cookie cutter approaches to bridges. They're all, but I mean, this is a concrete beam bridge. It's got concrete, we call them, it's a 72-inch bulb T is the designation of that kind of beam, that's a pretty typical beam for us. But the calculations, the locations of the piers, it's unique. We didn't just lift this design up from somewhere else and drop it in. It was designed specifically for this location, as all of our bridges are.
I'm Randall Clemens from Granville. We know you can't give us a definite answer tonight, but would you at least consider going back and seeing if there's any way possible to open one lane, cars only, no trucks? Second, between now and the time that this bridge will be reopened, we will have approximately 10,000 people that will come to Granville for 3 festivals that we'll be having. For the last, since it's closed, the signage is not appropriate coming off of the interstate. People are continuing to go all the way to the bridge, have to turn around and go back. We have begged for signage. We finally got a little bit of signage put up this week, but it's not doing the job. It's too small. There needs to be something as you come down the ramp. Then it needs to, when you get over to the junction, there's one little sign there. People are going all the way to Lancaster. I mean, this past Saturday night at the Bluegrass we had people from Nashville that was scattered everywhere. And we can't even get anybody to return our call about getting the signage correct.
I think BJ's got to answer this.
Hi, I'm BJ. I just spoke to a gentleman that runs one of the businesses. Is he still here? There you go. Hi. I will tell you that I will bulldog this. We have a great traffic division, and he's going to email me an electronic copy of this, and I'm going to send it to Joe Sweat, and I think that this is probably something fairly easy we can get taken care of.
I've heard that over and over and over again tonight, and I agree. If there's any way to do that, I mean, that's what I'm hearing over and over and over again. I hear your answer that you don't feel like it's safe enough, but still, that's just a consideration. I know I said 1 and 1. I'm going to go to this gentleman here. I know it's his second question, Frank, where I can give you another time. I'm going to let you have it this second. Okay?
Hi, I'm Brian Ganton. I was looking at this, I'm hoping this isn't just a stopgap measure, and we'll have this revisit the same problem again in a few years. I mean, looking at it, it seems like your 2 points of contact would be, of course, the bedrock and the bottom of that T, correct? That's where it takes most of the stress.
Right.
Wouldn't it be smarter at this point to make 6 points of contact in the river? I like the walls, building the walls in on the 2 land pieces, but that'll take the flex out this way.
Correct.
But across that river, it seems to me that if you come off the same degree that you've got the bottom of that T, looks like about a 13-degree cant. If you came straight down with a 13-degree cant on each side and hit the bedrock with that, and now you suddenly have 6 points of contact on each pier, and then we definitely don't have to revisit this in a few years.
We have quite a number of designs. The hammerhead design is very common for us, and being that it's founded on rock, thank you, okay. That pier is as stable as any bridge in Tennessee, really. It's, I mean, that sounds a bit.
Some things can be tough.
It won't rock, so.
But err on the side of caution, you see, being 6 points of contact is better than 2.
Well, I think the answer to your question is if this bridge was being supported with what I would call masonry construction, to where everything sits down on top of it, your point's well taken. But this pier cap, there's heavy steel reinforcing in here, and so when you get a load pushing down on this side here, that steel in the top of it is what and that's the traditional modern design, the going all the way down, and we do that from time to time, but it's far more cost effective to do it with the steel in there, and it's easier construction for us to get in and get out in a hurry.
Try to reduce
the whole issue. The reason these piers are designed different is we're trying to find a way where we can, because this is the controlling item of work, we want to get in and get out. We want to get in and get out as fast as we can. So that's why we went with that type of design. But
Gotta get out of the water.
if we were using just a masonry type of foundation where it just has to hold the weight like that, that would be a way to design it. But what we're using the strength of the steel.
Yes, my concern is that we have, and it's been crazy, the road closure, we had 3 semis going this way, all on one side, it puts pressure over here, it wants to lift.
And
so like I said, 2 points of contact. It seems to me that the road construction, this would move. If we had 2 more columns coming down, the same degree of that T, it would just, I mean, for a little more, safety, are we going to be revisiting this again in a few more years?
I mean, we don't, from the analysis that we've done by multiple engineers within the department and some external engineers, this is the type of design that we think is appropriate and allows us to get in and get out in a hurry.
Okay, my name is Sherry Bush, and I drive that road every day to work, and all types of weather. And I noticed that when it's pouring down and raining, that the water puddles up on that bridge. It's like you've got the places for it to run off, but it's like it don't do it efficiently.
I mean, we'll go back and profile and look at the bridge. I will say that the bridge is sloped, but it also has a cross slope in it. It's peaked in the middle, but we'll go back and look. I feel pretty confident that's in there, but at y'all's request, we're going to go back and we'll check that issue out.
Hi, my name is Tina Gantenbein, and I'm the board member for the 8th District here at Forks River. And my concern is what Mr. Smith was stating earlier. We are dealing with a budget crunch for our school. We are a small school. There's 181 kids that are here at this school. If we did not put in a bus, which is an additional route for us to take the children from the other side of the bridge, drive them all the way down and around, which they were having to do. There was 30 children that we have counted that are maybe 18, 19 families from the opposite side of the bridge that are having to drive all the way around, which is the additional wear and tear going through Gordonsville that cannot support all the traffic. Past which you have is the truck stop right there, which is the semis in and out. So So you might be able to put one, maybe two semis and a couple additional cars. So by the time our children are driving around to school, stopping and maybe dropping kids off at Coach River, driving all the way around Stonewall, hanging up right there at the Gordonsville High School, it can take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to get through that stoplight, which you can't, what we're understanding is they will not reset that timing. So Gordonsville, I guess, is putting in a police officer there to help field some of the traffic. But in the beginning here of my comment, we had to run an extra bus route or we were going to be losing 30 children, which would be taking us from 181 kids down to 150 kids. The overflow of those children are going to have to go to another school in town. That means teachers are going to have to be hired. That's a budget that we can't afford. Now, I know you said bridges shut down every day. I got it. But the devastation to a small community like ours, the aggravation of parents that have to tell their employers that they're going to be late to work because it's 20, 30, 40 extra minutes to drive from the opposite side of the bridge all the way around, so they can only go and either transfer their children or we would have to pick up an additional bus route. There has got to be somebody that the school system can speak to. There's got to be a website, there's got to be a number that you can get for us that we can call and say, we've got a lot of extra money that we've got to come up with in order to finish out our school year. And if this bridge has any delays whatsoever, and we know what road construction can do, and we understand delays, my concern would be we're going into another additional school year that we're going to have to be looked at and budget for. So taxpayers' money, instead of going to our school systems and our students and stuff, is definitely going to the bridge project. So my concern is a number, a website, somebody that we can contact. Thank you.
I mean, the commissioners, I mentioned, I don't have a mechanism through the Department of Transportation to address those costs. I can get our traffic engineering staff to work with Gordonsville to see if there are any things we can do in Gordonsville to help facilitate traffic flow. Sounds like y'all got a law enforcement's assistant there, but there might be something our traffic engineering staff can do. I don't know. I am going to try to see if there are other issues, but I am not aware of any other sources of funds that could help support the school system in that area. I just don't know of any offhand, but I am going to do a little bit of digging. I've kind of talked about that back at the office a little bit to see, what are some of the areas that we might be able to look for funds. I'm just not aware of anything for those types of issues.
I want to thank every one of you for coming out here tonight. The conversation that I've had had many of the county commissioners to call me, and I have heard from a lot of people from Gordonsville, and I've also had some emails from some of you, and so this was part, and it's been going on a month or so. Transportation, Mr. Daggs and I got together and talked about having this town hall because there were so many stories, and I didn't even really know what the story was anymore, and I'm not an engineer. So being here tonight and you being here and us getting all perspectives of what we are facing here is very important. That being said, I appreciate the mayor pulling this all together as well. So this is a team effort of people being here. First thing I want to say is this. Because the first thing I thought about when the bridge was closed was, praise God, a school bus wasn't going across the bridge and we would be talking about something entirely different. That is something I want to keep my focus on. That no one lost their life on the bridge, because that cannot be replaced. This bridge is getting fixed, and I can, as your state representative, and have been being a voice to get it done as quick as we can. But There's equations involved. And like I said, I'm not an engineer. But what we can do, and Paul is at he's at, you know, at his boss, which is Commissioner Shore. So why don't I recommend 4 or 5 of you join with me, and we'll go down and we'll see the commissioner, and we'll go down and see the governor, and you bring me your numbers, and we'll tell him this is what we're facing. We're facing an economic issue here. We've got the festivals that bring many people up to Granville, and so we have a lot of moving parts here. If you would like to do that, I can do that. That's all I can do. I can't get out there and fix that bridge. I can't pour cement, and I'm sure not an engineer. But I will do what I can to make your voice be heard. That's what I can do. And maybe, just maybe, Paul, we'll have you. I would like to know for sure if we can have a single lane open. My only question is, if you bring passenger cars over there, then there's a weight issue. Can you have a school bus go across it? I don't understand all of that. If you had one lane, then you're saying you can only allow passenger car, or if you opened up a lane, could any type of weight of cars or trucks, or God forbid we can't have semis. I don't know what weight of all that is. But that's my question. How do you determine, if in fact you can have one lane open, then how do you determine who and what would go on that lane, and how would you police it? Would you put a stoplight on it? Is there some way you can at least let some passage go through? Because this is literally cutting off a community. And I had a constituent send me a picture of Gordonsville, 7 to 9. Leaving Gordonsville High School, and she took a picture, Glenda took a picture from the 4-way stop, and it was solid cars all the way to the light. There were trucks trying to get out of Hess. I mean, it was a mess. You couldn't go anywhere. So I asked Matt, who's responsible for fixing the light there so that the light could stay green longer from 7 to 9, and then from 3 to 5 to at least keep the traffic going. And that's a city call, so the city decided to send an officer there, which made a little bit of help. So we're trying to do what we all can be a part of and be a team to do. And so if you want to get 5 or 6 of you to meet with us, we'll get the governor, we'll get commissioner, and Mr. Daggs will accompany us, and we'll try to do more. But again, folks, let's just remember nobody lost a life on this bridge. And that's important. And that's what I want us to think about. And thank you for letting me say my 2 cents.
But we'll just follow up with the mayor.
You've heard an awful lot of how good this bill is to swallow. And I agree, it's inconvenient, it's costly, and it's going to have to rip a lot of budget. But I want to bring to your attention something that happened in Granville years ago when they built that new bridge there. They put a new kind of steel in there that they couldn't even find local welders to weld. They had to get welders to build submarines to weld that. That was so successful that many of that type of bridge is being built all over the nation now because of Paul. And you may want his head, but he has saved the nation a lot of money, even if it is a costly thing right here locally. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
I got one question. In your engineering degree, do y'all know how to make a smooth bridge anywhere? Look at that Carlisle Carson Bridge. That's a joke. They spent like $12 million on this. It's like riding across the road coaster. Can you fix that?
It's rhetorical.
We didn't have rideability. We went out there to ground
My
something.
name's Tim Belleville, Chestnut Mountain. All right, we know it's gonna take a while to do the bridge. All right. What about the detour? The road is falling apart. Okay, 3,000 vehicles went across the bridge. That's TDOT's count. Now you've got all those vehicles, plus the ones that already went on 264, going on 264. The ditches have eaten into the roadways, the tiles are stopped up. What are you going to do to address that?
Talk to some of the stuff we can do.
Side note, if there's a wreck on the interstate, where are you going to detour the traffic from the interstate? Because it comes that way. It comes up 7.
I'm gonna let Sonny answer the detour question.
Okay.
If that happens, we have to, and it's happened in the past, and we've got the traffic off the interstate, we can move that traffic over into the county over there and get the traffic around. It'd be a long, drawn-out process and take a lot of doing, but we can do it in a timely manner where the traffic will not be at a standstill, where anybody's been late for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah, and I'll let David give more. We realize we're going to have to do some increased patrols, increased maintenance on the detour route. You know, where there's more traffic on it. You know, it is wintertime right now, and hot mix and stuff like that isn't readily available. But David, you want to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, the detour, the official detour is on all state routes, so that's my responsibility to maintain. Like Paul says, right now it's not a good time because of the winter. But we have tools in the toolbox that we use, in-place paving, to go out there when the asphalt plants fire up, and we can, if there's problematic areas, we'll fix them.
And also, there's people using the county roads there as well. If they need some support on that, that's something we can work with the county. And we've got tools in our contract.
I'm gonna get my county. You may know Scott Farley. Somebody, you know Scott Farley? I'm gonna get him to get with you. Y'all can ride the roads. We'll figure out what we got to do to fix the roads. All right?
Thank you. I'm not trying to be facetious here, but you think the bridge could hold a bicycle? I was just going to say, this is a suggestion. Most people have 2 cars. If they kept one car on the other side of the bridge, we have a car on this side of the bridge, correct? You hire a security guard to watch the cars overnight, ride the bike to your other car, and get to Walmart in 5 minutes instead of 50.
I'm Leanne Wiggins. I have a question about when you get the new bridge open, will you balance that traffic on each side as opposed to just one side?
Oh yeah, I mean that was for construction because we had to take the old bridge down. We had the traffic over to the side.
Sure. I mean, it's going to be a 2-lane bridge with wide shoulders when it's all said and done, and you're going to ride over the middle of the bridge. We want to keep traffic away from the old bridge, plus we had to face construction.
My name's Charles Edwards, and I'm a business owner on the other side of the bridge. I bought my shop in December. Great for me, right? And plan on opening November 1st. Sorry about that. February 1st. 2 weeks before I opened, shut the bridge. So I quit my job and I opened up my own business. And before I opened up the doors, I had dozens of people stopping just in a few hours in the evenings that I was there, wanting to know when I'm going to open up. Now I've got like nobody coming by. They don't even know they even get up in there because you've got the other end of the road blocked off and buried. So, you know, I'm glad you didn't lose your job, but, you know, you're making it pretty tough on the rest of us.
And Paul, I'll say this. This gentleman got in touch with, I think, our chamber director, and he asked me if there was something we could do about the detour signs. They were kind of in the way, and I know FTP is up there, and they were having trouble getting trucks through there. They did make it better, but a simple thing as a sign, and this is how TDOT works, and I won't say works with us, but this is what I was told. You wanted to put a sign up down there, and they said you're not allowed to put signs up on state right of way. I've heard that before, but you know, today, with the bridge closed, we need to let this man put up the biggest signs he needs to put up down there.
Yeah,
Allow him to have
let us go back and look and see there might be something we can do to kind of speak. He's probably not the only business up through there. There's probably some stuff. I mean, I'll just get with our sign people and see if there's any opportunity.
And I appreciate you bringing that up.
Frank Freda, Elmwood. Besides the structural deficiencies that are being addressed, I think we need to maybe take a quick look at another safety issue that's going to exist after this bridge is repaired. It's been brought up a couple times tonight, and I couldn't agree with some of the people more, is that if my eye doesn't deceive me, both approach pads are higher in grade than the center of the bridge. And when it's raining out, I don't think those scuppers or the drains are adequate enough to shed or discharge the water as fast as it's accumulating on that bridge. There's a serious hydroplaning issue that can come up on that bridge, even in a light, steady rain. I've seen it where that bridge takes on water so fast that it's real easy to hydroplane. I think this might be an issue, especially for our emergency personnel that are trying to get over there at a higher rate of speed. I'd like you to maybe make a note of that, and if you could take another look at those scuppers or drains and make sure they're adequate to shed that water off that bridge.
We'll be sure and do that. We'll go out there and do a full survey on it.
We've got
make sure
about 30 more minutes.
I just got one final question. Are you going to make any effort at all to open the lane on this bridge?
You know, I'm gonna continue talking to my structure staff. But I mean, we have looked at numerous options to try to be able to put traffic on this bridge. Trust me, I would love to be able to open that bridge up to traffic, but I have a responsibility to make sure that when I put traffic on a bridge, that I know that we're in good shape on it. And
you don't say the bridge will not fall.
Well, and you know, it did have traffic on it for a while, but I'm telling you that my responsibility is bigger than just saying, well, we're pretty sure it won't fall. My responsibility is bigger than that. Well, we've run the numbers on it, but again, in the world of engineering, I am mandated to make sure I have adequate levels of safety. And they need to be, for a bridge, they've got to be more than just one. That bridge, we can't have the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back there. We've got to have factors of safety on bridges. And it's different than a pavement. Different than just a road. For a bridge, I've got to be 100% sure that I can handle any conceivable load. And so that's why we made the decision. And look, if we can come up with another solution during this time that will allow us to open that back up, we'll do that. But look, we've scratched our head, we've looked. I just don't feel that it would be responsible for us to be able to open this bridge to traffic. We'll keep looking for things, looking at ideas, but at this point, we don't think it's the responsible thing to do.
Why? You say it's safe. You say it's not going to fall. Why?
The answer is because, as an engineer, I have to have an adequate factor of safety. This isn't just a one-time crossing. We're talking about the public has to to be entrusted that we've got bridges that are capable of carrying all the loads on them, and we don't have that comfort level right now, and I apologize for that.
I'm Carol Webster from Chestnut Mound, Granville Highway. This is a very tight community. We all may not love each other every day, but we've all come together about this. Even if it hasn't affected other people on the other end of the county, most of them have stayed true and helped us through this. My concern is this. Mr. West documents every time anybody comes in his office or calls him about there's concrete falling. I'm sure Mr. West, from what I've been told, has called your offices many times to tell you there's concrete falling in the river. I know y'all tried to save money. Everybody tries to save money. But when you purchase concrete, they should have not ever been put on that bridge to start out with, and the company you purchased it from had someone to sign off on it. I know I'm an educator, I shouldn't be knowing any of this, should I? But when you buy a concrete that should have never been put on that bridge, you save money and now it's all falling off. But somebody signed off on it. This next time around, are you going to buy the concrete that you should be using so they don't have to sign off on it? And who was the person who signed off on it the first time? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm not aware of any reports that any concrete's ever fallen off there. This is not an issue with the strength of the concrete on the bridge deck. We're not going to have to replace the concrete on the deck. Since it's got cracks, we'll probably put a sealer on it, but there isn't an issue with the concrete. So the concrete met our specifications. We've got the invoices and the testing requirements to show that.
I mean, as part of my responsibility, we have inspectors out there during the construction of the project. There's no concrete falling off the bridge. We have cracks in the piers, we've got cracks in the deck. We've had my bridge inspection people out there 2 or 3 times looking at it. The concrete's fine, okay?
Well, I mean, we've got multiple signatories for every time concrete comes to a bridge site, or anytime we pour a quantity of concrete, there's test specimens made, there's paperwork that tracks the concrete, and those specimens get brought to a big machine and they get squished until they pop to determine how strong they are, and they have to meet our strength requirements. And that happened on all.
Yeah, all the concrete met our specifications, or we'd have them remove it, and we have the records to prove it.
My name's Casey Woodard. I'm from Elmwood, and one thing I was kind of interested about was you say there was an oversight in the engineering phase, and I'm not too concerned about, I guess I'm more concerned about what exactly caused that oversight to happen, and is there any way we can make sure this doesn't happen again?
I mean, the short answer is that a human being did a calculation. We have since come in and we have a check and balance process to where there is no single one person doing anything. There's always redundancy in those designs. So for the past 5, 6 years, we've had a whole lot more scrutiny in the design level of all of our structures, whereas the original calculations on this bridge were done back about 2002.
My name is William H. McCarter, and I still live up on Bee Ridge. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be writing a letter to Washington for TDOT and for the state of Tennessee and Smith County to help out all of Smith County's victims and all of them.
You know, I've heard, Richard Thompson's my name, but I've heard what y'all can't do for nobody here. You can't help the small business, you can't help the grandpa or the schools, but y'all can give a contractor $450,000 bonus to get through early. Why take some money to come to the community?
And that's a fair question. The answer is I don't have any authority. Again, this isn't just free money to a contractor. For a contractor to earn that bonus, he's going to have to bring extra crews in, work longer hours, bring more equipment. So this isn't. Yeah, look.
Can I say something? I work in community relations, so I have I listen to a lot of issues all over the state. Every time we do a construction project, it impacts somebody. There's a business who says people don't want to come through all these barrels, or if we close a bridge, so we don't have the mechanism to just hand out money to everybody that's why Paul's saying there's no law that says TDOT, here's an extra $10 million that you can go spread out all over the state where you're doing projects that impact people. It'd be a lot easier for us if we could.
My name is Kevin Jones. I'm blessed to have two businesses in the community. One is in Granville, one is in Gordonsville. The summer business, we're going to lose at least 2/3 of whatever comes in, but I'm blessed enough to have another income. And this is me just getting on my frustrations is I don't understand your inspections. I don't know how they go, but did somebody just inspect the piers at the beginning and say, hey, these look good, these are great, we're signing off on the piers? Then you put down whatever, the hammerhead, and you sign off on the hammerhead and say, no, this is great. Then you put down your decking. You say you looked and you saw cracks in the decking, but they seemed that they were okay. And then you say it's okay to open the bridge and let's go ahead and destroy the old bridge. Did anybody do an inspection of the full bridge on the piers and stuff afterwards to say, okay, the bridge is 100%? Because you say you noticed the top cracks, but you didn't notice the cracks on the piers or on the hammerheads. At what point did you notice those?
The short answer is that the contractor built the bridge according to the plans. The first thing that they started noticing was some of those cracks in the deck. Before we put traffic on the bridge, a bridge inspection team came out and did a physical arm's reach length inspection of all the components of the bridge. And at that point in time, we didn't see the cracks in the piers. The issues weren't apparent to us at the time. So over time is when the cracks grew. That's why our construction staff pulled our structure staff out and say, we're seeing growth in these crackings. And so that's when it got down in the pier, that's when we starting digging deeper to find out what the issue was. So there is a tiered level of inspection out there. Again, I want to be clear, the contractor built what was in the plans. Sure. So this wasn't where the contractor had inferior concrete or anything like that.
I just wanted to make sure that at the end, that there was an inspection of every single component.
Right, but before a bridge is open to traffic, there is an inspection done on it, but that is a physical inspection. It is not a calculation of all of the components of the bridge. It's a physical inspection of the structure.
And it'll be inspected again.
Ms. Gattenbein touched on this a little bit, and I think I could speak for Mr. Coble and Mayor Nesbitt and myself, and I know Mr. West, I'm sure would like to have. I never did get, do you have a complaint division? When we're fielding calls, we need to turn them over and let you guys answer it.
Well, we do. I mean,
we've asked for the number. We'd like to have a website or 800.
Well, I mean, we have a report of, I mean, our phone number at David's office is 615-350-4300 is our operations phone number. And that's the public number. It's on our website.
350-4300. All right. Got one more in here. I'm gonna take one more question and we're gonna try, okay, two more. Lady, you just keep talking.
Yes, I'm Joyce Smith again, and I would like to know how many bridges have you had in the state to be turned down at a year old? How much is this costing the taxpayers?
To my knowledge, this is the only bridge that has this type of issue. From time to time, we do have structures that when the contractor has built something, and it's not just bridges, it's other components that we refuse to pay. Sometimes we tear things out, and so you have to rebuild it. But as far as an issue like this is the only issue like this that I'm aware of.
I'm Jackie Woodard, and I live in Elmwood. And I've got two comments. First of all, we live just right down from where you turn to go to Stonewall. And the way they've got the road blocked, somebody is going to get killed right there. Because at night or in the daytime, you can't tell if a car is coming up, like from where we live, and then somebody's coming down the road and they're coming around. We were going out Saturday and almost got hit by two cars coming off the Stonewall Road, and we had the right of way. That's the first thing. I think somebody needs to look at the way you've got those blockages set up. The second thing I want to know is, did I understand you to say that there will not be a final finish put on this bridge? On the deck? We understood that when they opened the bridge up fully, that there would be another layer put on to smooth that bridge out. Is that not going to happen?
Well, what we typically do is once we get the final approaches for the bridge finished, we do a rideability test. We see where the rough spots are, and we go out there and fine grind the deck to make it smooth. We have a rideability test. So it will be smooth.
Once we pay the asphalt in the bridge, we've got a machine that measures the bumps, and then we have a contractor, our specification requires a contractor to take the stability machine and smooth everything out. So right now you have the construction finish on that. It doesn't have it.
And it's not uncommon. We do it on most all desks. And we are going to look at the drainage. We're going to survey it. We're going to get with the structures, at the hydraulics.
You not shot line grade on this thing?
Sure we have.
Of course we have. We're going to double check for drainage purposes.
All right, and I'm sure that David will be working with Mr. Scott Party about that issue up there, Stonewall Road, where the signage.
That's my responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've got it wrote down, sign.
Okay, that's good. Hard to make that turn. All right, I want to just kind of wrap things up here and just say that I know I started off saying thank y'all, and I guess I kind of give you a little bit of a slur a while ago, and I said that's kind of the way TDOT works with us. But as far as to the national office, y'all have always been really good work with, and local office normally. But that question about the signage, there needs to be some forgiveness during this time. I mean, and some workability with us. I mean, just like we asked about those signs, those detour signs being moved down there in South Carthage. It was like an act of Congress, and I really never understood it. And they finally did move them to the center, because we had tractor-trailer trucks that were coming to go to FTP, which employs about 180 people right there. And they were normally making that swoop around, but instead they were having to come to a T and make a right-hand turn. Before they could even get their rig straightened out, they couldn't get through the signage. They did move that. What I'm saying, when we have these kind of things, we really need to be more pliable, I guess, and maybe I need to be talking. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. But
we need to address that there's a business community in this area that people still need access.
Correct.
So I think
and they would normally be driving by there, and then there'd be some way to point them to whoever that